Wouldn't you like to pause from your busy day and listen in to experts and homeschool parents like you about the beautiful world of homeschooling? This podcast is designed just for you. Each episode connects you to the best conversations that will give you courage and fill your cup so you can keep pouring into your family every single day. Introducing the Hey Mama Homeschool Show, brought to you by the old Schoolhouse, your trusted homeschool partner for over 20 years.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Hey Mama Homeschool Show. I'm Christine, and I'll be your host this week. I am a homeschool mom of 2 boys, and I am here in Ontario, Canada. I have the privilege of working for schoolhouseteachers.com, which is a division of the old Schoolhouse. Joining me today is Kody Hanner from the Homestead Education. And I'm so glad that you were able to join us today, Kody.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. And so just to let you know, her website, I'll probably repeat this at the end, but her website is thehomesteadeducation.com. And we'll get into a little bit more about what she does over there. Let me introduce our topic for today. Our topic is Teacher Helps, Podcasts, Books, and Blogs. And so this is cool because we get to do a little cross promo here on our podcast because Kody also has her own podcast. And so we'll have all the links in the show notes for you. But we wanted to first talk about, why it's good for us teachers, us homeschool teachers, to actually do a little bit of homework to sort of make things better about how we teach our kids. And so some of the ways we can do that is, one, listening to wonderful podcasts, and there's so many out there, books, and read up on blogs. And I know many homeschoolers have kind of fallen into this category, and this is a very good trend among homeschoolers that we kind of like to support each other, and we like to tell our stories out there. And it's so important to do this because you get to see what other people are doing. And so you don't feel like you're doing this on your own. You're like, oh, this person's struggling, with this thing, or, oh, I didn't even think about trying this kind of way of teaching. And this is actually what I was looking for. And so this is so good. So we wanted to talk about, what are your thoughts on doing some homework for homeschooling?
Well, I'm just going to say I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
When we first started homeschooling, we were like anti-homeschoolers.
Oh, yeah?
And we started 8 years ago, so definitely like pre-pandemic and stuff. We weren't thrown into it from that.
Right.
But we were not that family at all. Like, you send your kids to school and, you do your thing. And I had worked for several years. I worked in corporate agriculture. So yeah, my kids were in school because I had a job. And when my husband and I met and got married, we were like, we still had that, nope, kids go to school. And neither of us worked at that point. He was a disabled vet, and I had decided to take a couple years off and be mom. We had a couple more kids. And I was like, we still just didn't want to homeschool at all. And my husband got sick. And we were told that he maybe only had like a year left.
Wow.
Yeah. And then at the same time, one of our kids got in trouble at school. And suddenly it was like, we have to make a change right now.
Right.
And so we decided to pull all the kids and just experience life together. But I thought I had to do all the things. Yeah. So I recreated school at home, and it was a miserable experience for the whole first semester to maybe a year. And if I would have had the opportunity to do the amount of research, not even the amount of research I've done now, but even the amount of research that I was able to do when I just took a minute off, our homeschool experience would have been a completely different thing and a much happier experience.
Yeah. And I think many who come from the public school setting, they have that in mind, and there's that pressure of, it's got to look this way. And so This
Mhm.
is why we're here to share our stories about the fact that it does not need to
Mm-mm.
look like any way, like
Nope.
any, you have total control over how you homeschool your kids, and it can look exactly like what you need it to look like.
Yep.
And that's the key. You have to do what your family needs and not what other people are doing. And so if you're in
Mhm.
that boat and you're on the fence and you're trying to think, okay, how am I starting this? I can't, I don't think I can make it look like public school. Just stop, take a breath, and just rethink, what it is that you want for your family, what you want for your children, and go from there. Take a deep breath and, start making notes and start talking to your family about it. Um, Kody, I'm sure you've got so many words of wisdom in that process alone.
My experience was including, and then all the experiences I've heard about over the last 8 years of following blogs. And I went to 20 homeschool conventions last year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And what I've actually heard the most is that, culture's changing a lot right now.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
a lot of, parents, in-laws, extended family don't understand what you're doing
It's
in
true.
homeschool.
Yeah.
And you get a lot of that backlash of, are you doing enough for the kids?
Oh, yeah, for
Mhm.
sure. Yeah.
And
And
yeah, talk to your spouse, talk to the kids,
yeah, and
focus
that's
on
what I
that.
mean by that's
Okay.
what I meant by family. Yeah. I am sort of I keep saying this over and over. I'm sort of the black sheep of the extended family because
Right.
I am the only one who's crazy enough to keep my kids home and homeschool them.
Hmm.
And they do not, as you said, they do not understand
Yeah.
what
So
I'm
figure out
doing.
what works
Yeah.
for your like core family and
Oh yeah.
embrace that so
Yeah.
much.
Exactly.
And it
Exactly.
can
And
change. It can change from one week to the next, one year to the next, whatever works for you.
yep. And it needs to be flexible. And that's what one thing that I've learned I think I'm maybe 10 years now. I kind of stopped counting. We started, we like to
Yeah.
say that we started since they were born. So, just teaching them as they go. And, you've got to learn to be flexible. If you're not a flexible person, homeschooling, is all about flexibility because
Yeah.
you've got different stages of yourself that you go through, but your kids are also going through different stages, and you're discovering different learning styles. You're discovering, their interests and all
Hmm.
that. And let me tell you, kids change their interests when they're
Oh
little,
yeah.
especially. Oh my goodness. All the time. So you're always, adapting,
Yeah.
and that's a good thing because you're staying on course. You're still able to stay on course, but still keep it interesting. So you're not just stuck, okay, this is the way we got to do it. We got to do it day in and day out, and everything looks the same. No one likes that. No one likes
No.
that. There's a
Well,
little bit of stability, I guess, in a schedule following like the checklists and whatever. But
yeah.
after a while, you're going to get bored as the teacher. So,
And I have a couple of neurodivergent kids. One of them has OD,
mm,
which is oppositional defiance disorder.
wow.
And that was really challenging because he would find like anywhere I tried to be flexible for the rest of the group, he would see that as weakness.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So, I'd be like, hey, it's a Monday, but we don't need to do school today. Let's embrace life and catch up
Yeah.
on Friday. In his eyes, then we no longer need to do school on Monday. And he would not do school on Mondays because I let school go one Monday. I mean,
Wow.
it was an interesting process with him. And I think had I done my homework originally on how to homeschool these types of kids, because I tried to homeschool them like they do at school.
Right.
So I tried to keep him really regimented, keep him up to par, and it was exhausting. And actually, when he turned 15, he goes, I got offered a job as an electrician's apprentice. Can I do that instead of school? And we were like,
Wow.
bye.
Yeah.
Yes, please do. And if I would have focused more on his skills in a different way, for years before that, I think we would have had a different experience. Because
Yeah.
once he stopped doing school, I changed the way we homeschooled the rest of the kids, and it has been a completely different experience.
Mm,
My now 15-year-olds that were, I think they're 4 years younger than him,
mm.
they pretty much teach themselves at this point,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they enjoy it and they want to, so
Yeah. Yeah. And that is one of the reasons why many parents are pulling their kids out of public school too, because of the neurodiversity. Like there's such an increase now of what children are
Mhm.
dealing with now, and the public schools are not equipped to handle it.
They really
And
aren't.
so, yeah, and I speak from experience because I worked 8 years in a special needs school
Mhm.
for middle schoolers, and I saw that they were not able to give that one-on-one assistance because everyone had a different need. And
Yeah,
so, but they were plumped into, certain classrooms and just hope for the best. I'm like, this
right.
is nuts. This
It
is nuts.
Yeah, it really is. And I mean, not only are they not equipped to help these kids, then the culture that's happening at public schools
Yep.
just doesn't support where they need to be, and it makes them more influential, and it's a really concerning place for any of those types of kids.
It
And
is.
luckily, like what I think is really great is I've seen a lot of farm schools and outdoor schools and forest schools and those types of things pop up that really embrace neurodivergent kids. And it gives families an opportunity that if they still have to have a full-time job and need a place for their kids to go, but they don't want them in a public or even a private school setup, these like co-ops and farm schools and stuff, it gives more of a one-on-one hands-on experience for these kids. And I super support those.
Yeah. And see, you were talking about forest schools. I just recently found out about forest schools and I'm like, what is this thing? And like the opportunities out there, like again, like just to move away from what you're taught as, okay, school should look like this. Like
Mhm.
you have to be in a classroom setting, you have to sit at a desk, and you as the parent slash teacher needs to stand at a board, like to get that out of your head and to be exposed to all the variety out there of ways you can educate your kids.
Mhm.
It's just unbelievable. And yeah, just by listening to podcasts and reading those blogs out there, and even going on social media and joining those homeschooling groups,
Yeah.
those are
Some of those are a little
fantastic.
scary, but yeah.
Oh yeah, well, you got to pick and
Yeah.
choose, right? Because yeah, for sure. For sure. But just, reading and looking and seeing what's out there. And of course you take, what you can from them and apply it if it
Mhm.
if it works for your family. And molding and shaping what education looks like for your kids is so important to do.
Yeah. I think what nobody really told me is that there was different styles of homeschooling.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, now after I was homeschooling for 2 or 3 years before that conversation even came across my plate. But I mean, even 8 years ago, the whole blogging podcast realm wasn't even fully there.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
kind of just getting rolling. And so, yeah, I was probably 2 or 3 years in before I even learned that there was different homeschooling styles. And now I joke that we're traditional eclectic unschoolers.
Yeah, we kind of fall in that boat too. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, like everybody has a different curriculum for what works for them for that age group and where they're at in
Yeah.
life. But then I have like a couple hours in the morning that we make sure we get our math and English and those types of things done. And then we just learn on the farm.
Yeah. And that's
And
awesome.
yeah, we take classes in town. We, follow interests. And it's, my first grader, he was like, Mom, I don't want to learn how to read. Okay. Like, do I really want to fight my first grader on it? Not really.
No, no.
And he goes, Can I do like a second math curriculum? I was like, yeah.
What?
Yeah, I was like, let's do that. So like starting last year, he's pretty much self-taught himself to third grade math. And he's in the first.
Wow.
And I'm like, you
That's
know what, dude?
amazing.
Like you do you, I mean, because I'm like, he's, listening to apps where they're reading to him and that type of stuff. So I'm like, we're good. Well,
Mhm.
the other day he comes storming in the house all mad. And he's like, Mom, you got me this kit to catch bugs, and it comes with a little chart to identify my bugs, and I can't read it.
Oh.
He's like, get my curriculum out. We got to learn. I need to learn to read. And so now he's doing like 2 lessons a day.
I love
And
it.
sits there and tries to like sound out foraging books and stuff. Like he doesn't want to read like the, Jane ran up the hill
Yeah.
type.
Yeah.
It's like he has like a foraging book out, and he's like, I can sound this one out because I know what all these plants are. I'm like, you're
Oh.
awesome, man. And my husband was like, I never really totally understood unschooling until I saw this. And I was like,
Mhm.
yep, I just let him be a boy and be outside and do his thing. And he found the need to want to read.
Yeah, that's like my boys too. And it just all of a sudden you realize, wait, how do you know how to read that word? And
Right?
how, because they were following their own interests. Like my
Mm-hmm.
guys were dinosaurs at one point. One is so into airplanes right now. So he's studying, World War II
Mm-hmm.
and all of that stuff, all the planes and whatnot. And the other one is obsessed with marine biology, like just
See?
everything
Yeah.
marine biology. And like they walk around in the public talking to people about all these things, and I'm like, oh, I didn't know you knew that. Like, and they're using all these big words. I'm like, I didn't do that.
Right.
They found the books, these huge encyclopedia things, and they started figuring things out. It started just by looking pictures and looking
Mhm.
at the pictures, and then the words kind of came, and I'm like, I feel like I didn't even teach my kids to read. I don't even
Yeah.
know how that happened, but because you just allow them to experience
Mm-hmm.
things, it's amazing.
Well, like currently my 15-year-old is reading a textbook on the history of farm mechanics.
Well, that's amazing.
I'm like, whatever, dude. We were at fair this year. Our kids show dairy cows.
Oh, nice.
And, we have a raw milk dairy, and we travel to all these conventions that have, they talk about raw milk and rogue food and those types of things.
Mhm.
And I had another parent come over to me in the pig barn because I'm a swine leader.
Right.
And they're like, wow, we were talking to your twins. They know a lot about like raw milk and the, beta casein proteins. And I'm like, cool. Like I had no clue they were paying attention, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and so it's so wonderful to know and see this is why we do this. This is why we're
Mm.
talking about our stories, because we want to encourage you out there who are listening that, take the pressure off, because
Yeah,
they will learn.
they will.
And
Yeah.
it's just how they learn, where they pick it up from. And so it's our job to sort of facilitate that and, give them the opportunities to be different places and to have access to different kinds of books and all of that stuff. And,
Hmm.
you know, you'll be so surprised to see what they pick up, what they learn.
Yeah,
And
and what they
it's great.
find interesting, and then you can just go from there. And that's another thing that I love about how big the homeschool world is growing right now, is
Yeah.
pretty much anything that your kids are interested in, you can find
Yep.
a curriculum on.
Yep.
And
Yep.
that's been a huge help, because even whether it's just a small unit study all the way up to a full year curriculum, if my kids are like, I'm interested in something, I can like go download something real quick, or buy something, and they have that extra resource that they can use how they see fit.
Yeah, and within the last, I think, 2 years now, I've really moved away from set curriculums. I kind of
Mm.
just, I just sit there and I watch my kids, and, as they're talking, as they're sharing, as they're getting excited about certain things, I'm like, oh, okay, well, they want to learn more about, pigs. Okay,
Yeah.
let me just find a little something, ding ding. Oh, here you go. And then we work on that for a few weeks. And then you listen again. And so like we just kind of build, we just add on as the year goes by.
Hmm.
We do schooling all year round. I don't
Yeah.
believe in doing the whole break. We take breaks when we feel like it. We don't want to do school
Yeah.
for 2 weeks and go someplace. We do that. If not, learning happens all the time, anywhere, any place,
Well,
anyway.
like the
So,
state we live in the States has like the most lax homeschool laws.
oh, perfect.
So I think they say ages 6 to 16, you should teach them the core subjects. That's the entire
Right.
law. Like there's no
Wow.
time, you don't have to check in with anybody, you don't have to register with nothing. And
Yep.
so we just school pretty much whenever we feel like it. And, around here we take spring planting off and we take hunting season off.
Sure. Yep.
But then we school over the summer. Like when it's hot, we don't want to be out doing anything anyway.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Exactly.
I'm being a little more strict with my high schoolers this year. They're freshmen. And
For sure.
so we all got sick when we came home from a vacation.
Oh.
And I said, okay, well, that's fine. You don't need to do school, but we have a month before like Christmas break. And
Hmm.
so I would like you guys to come up with a plan on how you're going to get caught up. Because when I was a
Right.
freshman, that's what I would have had to do.
Hmm.
And so
Hmm.
they came up with a plan. And actually, as of today, will be their last day of double lessons to be caught up.
Wow.
Yeah.
Impressive.
So I was like, I was really
Impressive.
proud of them, and they made a plan together and, negotiated on how they were going to do it because, my daughter doesn't like doing 2 English lessons a day. My son loves doing 2 math lessons a day. And so they worked out
Wow.
a deal together. So,
That's awesome. And this is what it is about, like teaching
mm,
them to take the initiative to
yeah.
do those things because then they actually do it. So it's not you shaking your finger like a school teacher, do this because I said so. Because guess what? Your kids are just going to be like, yeah, right. See you
Mhm.
later. But because they're included in this process, because you asked them, like you come up with a plan, and they
Yeah.
did, right?
Mhm.
And they will. So it
I think that's
certainly
one of the
takes the pressure
skills
off.
that homeschool kids build a lot faster because when you're in public school, you just have somebody regimenting your time all the
Yep.
time.
Yep.
How you have to do everything in life, and you just have to become this really great rule follower.
Hmm.
Where when you're homeschooled, you get more of those natural consequences,
Yep. Yep.
and so, even something like this, if they don't get their work done, then we're kind of working more into the summer. And, then, they see their friends at fair, which is in August for us. And they're like, oh, yeah, we're, moving on to sophomore year. And they're like, oh, yeah, we're still doing our freshman math, and they don't want to be doing that. So,
Right. Yeah. This is great. So you have so much information on your site. I was looking through, but specifically for our listeners,
mhm.
can you tell us what kind of teacher helps you specifically have for homeschoolers on the Homestead Education website?
Yeah, I have a few really good articles on how to start homeschooling and how different types of curriculums can fit into your styles. I also
Perfect.
have a whole I have a mini ebook on how to start homeschooling, and it has a worksheet on where you can find the laws for your state, how you can learn about different styles,
Mhm.
how you can learn about different curriculums, how to figure out childcare, how to figure out working from home if you need to, like a lot of those steps. So that if you just decide like I'm ready today and feel like you don't have that support,
Mhm.
there's something there that you can work through. And then of course, I'm always happy to answer questions.
Perfect. And so they can reach out to you on the website. I
Mhm.
see that it pops up right there.
Yep.
And so obviously you have your podcast. Tell us a little bit about your podcast so people can
Yeah.
hop on.
It's called the Homestead Education. And, I kind of have like a multifaceted reason for why I go with it that way. But I saw this movement into farming over the last few years, which is a
Mm.
beautiful thing. We all know why it's happening.
Yeah.
But as having my background in agriculture, even though commercial ag is much different than homesteading, but I grew up on a ranch. I know how
Mhm.
all of this works. And I've consulted on a lot of small farms. And what I saw in this kind of homestead space online is a lot of really well-intentioned people not knowing what questions to ask to be responsible farmers.
Mm.
And so, I mean, if you don't know what to ask, you don't know to ask it.
True.
And so my goal has really been I bring on a lot of guests to just teach about different aspects of running a homestead.
Right.
And so then I used to do 2 episodes a week. Now I'm down to one. But then on my like opposite week, I have homeschoolers on to talk about different styles of, teaching neurodivergent kids, teaching kids on farms, teaching kids. I had, one gal on about teaching kids barefoot, And just kind of have those different topics and different things to teach the kids that are kind of outside of that box of just the, English, math, science, like all those
Right.
other life skills that are out there that they wouldn't get taught in public school, and that a lot of new homeschool moms or parents are just really focused on teaching those core subjects, and there's so many other things that really get the kids excited. So
Yeah, it's really good. And it's a good platform to prompt those questions like you were saying,
mhm,
because yeah, a lot of new homeschoolers in particular, they're always not sure, but because they don't know what questions to ask to get the
mhm.
certainty out of them. And so they so then they're like, okay, I can't do this. It's too much. And then they're
Teaching,
overwhelmed.
yeah, I say teaching the questions you don't know to ask.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And I love that because we don't. And it was, I sort of came from, a teaching background. So
Mhm.
kind of, I kind of had it in my head, well, I can teach my kids because
Right.
I know how to do that. I know how to create lesson plans if I need to, but which I don't, I don't even, I don't think I've even looked at a lesson plan in the last few years. We just kind of make it up as we go.
Mhm.
But for many, it's like they know they're not a teacher. They have no clue about teaching, and so they think, I can't teach my kids,
Right.
but you can, but you do
Mhm.
teach your kids. And so it's kind of showing them, well,
Yeah.
this is what this is what it can look like.
Right. And if you're still unsure, I have yet to find a curriculum that doesn't hand walk you through the whole thing.
True. That
Mhm.
is true. Yeah.
I think that's a lot of them that homeschool moms don't realize, that when you buy a curriculum, you aren't teaching it. The
Yeah.
curriculum's teaching it. You're
Yeah.
just there to administrate it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing I found that, even with those set curriculums, after a while, it's just, I think after the second year, I'm like, I'm not doing half of what this book is telling me to do.
Right? You have like all this busy work, like you have to
Yeah,
you know, read a chapter and then do all these worksheets and then write an
yeah,
essay and then do
yeah,
a, paper mache thing. And that's just
yeah. And
Monday.
which was fine. And then my kids were like, it would, one, I don't know, maybe it was geography or history or something like
Uh-huh.
that. And they'd be like, okay, read pages, uh, 5 to 6 in chapter one. And then, you know, Monday to Friday, it was like two more pages of that same chapter. And then my kids were like, can't we just finish the chapter? I'm like,
Mhm.
yeah, let's just do that. And then
Yeah.
we'll just do the questions after. And
Yeah.
so we just like,
It's either like these little tiny baby steps, or like like I said, every curriculum, like, just Monday, you have to rebuild your whole house and then do that again on Tuesday. It's like, no, 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 this is too much. Like, why
yeah,
are we doing all these extra things?
yeah,
Because yeah, it's great sometimes to do the, paper mache flower pot or whatever.
yeah,
But is that really necessary for this English assignment? Not really,
yeah. And a lot of it is just extra stuff. And
Mhm.
the one particular curriculum that I had bought, they did put in little tiny writing, this is just a suggestion. If you feel like, you don't want to do it with your kids, you don't have to, but it's here for you. And I'm like,
Mhm.
well, why did I pay for all this?
Right.
So we're not going to end up using it.
Or
Yeah,
I've had the
even with
curriculums that you pay, they're a digital download and you pay a decent amount for them. And then it comes out with this one sheet of all the links to take you to somebody else's site to teach you that.
oh, that's so
I'm like, it's
annoying.
great that you did the research for me, but that wasn't a $20 download. Like, that was
No.
either a freebie or maybe a $5 download, like.
And even for you to find those links, like Google is everything. Like I find I like really you just type in and I'm like, oh look, here it is.
Yep. Hmm.
And just pop on, oh look, there's a video on how to do this. Let's just watch the YouTube video. And it's so simple. So you really can, you don't have to rely on, these fancy lesson plans and
Hmm.
all of that stuff. So
I agree.
uh yeah. It's so good to just reach out and look to see what's out there because even for your playtime, your educational fun stuff. Like there's so many things. I'm just like, where was this all the time? Like you can't find these things in textbooks.
Yeah.
Like if we didn't talk to other homeschoolers, we would know nothing about.
Yeah, I mean, my kids the other day, they got a color by number, but they've lost half their crayons.
That sounds like my house.
And so, like my 6-year-old, he's like, Mom, how do I make dark green? And I'm like, green and black. And he was like, oh, okay, and I mean, just kids are gonna learn. So just
Yeah.
roll with
Yeah. Yeah. And that's similar with my kids. And I don't, if they tell me they're missing crayons, I'm like, okay, deal with it because I'm not buying anymore.
it. It sounds like a
Because
personal problem.
and then so he'll come back with his thing and look, I decided to do this, this, and this, and he's created this masterpiece out of what he had. And I'm like, see, skill building right there, problem
Yep.
solving skills right there. And I didn't do a thing. I just said, go deal with it.
Right.
So,
Have you read that book, Free Range Children?
no, I haven't.
Strongly suggest it. And
Yeah,
there's definitely things I wouldn't do. Like, I'm sorry, I will not let my child ride the subway by themselves in New York City.
no, me neither.
But I live in the country where I let my kids walk to the store a mile away
Right.
and I don't even bat an eye. And
Yeah,
there's a lot of families they'd be like, oh, you're gonna let your children walk. There's no other people around to make sure they're safe or anything. I'm like, they have a dog with them. They're good.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
anyways, this book just really, it's all those types of concepts. Like, don't get in the middle of the fights between kids and that type of stuff, because they need to be
Hmm.
able to learn to work these things out.
It's true. It's true. And my guys are at the age where they're constantly fighting now.
Oh.
So it's learning for me. And I would say, we learn as parents too, right? We're not
Mhm.
just here teaching our kids. Our kids are teaching us a few things about ourselves too. So it's like, okay, nobody's gonna kill each other. So let me just just step back and let's see what happens. And sure enough, like they'll surprise you, right? They know. I mean, you tell them, right? You tell them what's right and what's wrong. And, somebody's gonna come walk over, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that, and then they
Mhm.
make up and then they're fine. And then you did nothing. So yeah, totally right about letting them try to find their own way in that way.
Yeah, it's, especially like my 15-year-old twins right now, they're gonna drive me crazy
Yeah.
because all they do is fight. It was, I mean, actually, right at fair last year, right before they went into the show ring, they're wearing all white to show their dairy cows. And my daughter thought it'd be funny to try to punch her brother in the face and like made contact and busted his lip. And I'm just
Oh,
like, are you
oh
kidding me? And
no.
so but they still like, they kind of like, she's like, you better get right or I'm gonna bust your lip again. Like, just no, no.
Oh my goodness, we have so many stories to tell about that. And the thing is, like, this is not happening outside, right? This is not happening in a different school setting with a bunch of strangers.
Mhm.
The good thing is that they're doing this at home in a safe environment, and they can learn to conflict resolution. They
Mhm.
can learn about that because it is a safe environment. And so
Yeah.
yeah, they're gonna have those fights. Yeah, they're gonna drive us nuts.
Mhm.
And that's one of the things that non-homeschoolers will say to me when I tell them I'm homeschooling. They're like, but like they're in your face like all the time. And I'm like, yeah, and that's okay.
Mhm.
That's exactly where I want them.
Right, that's, I work from home and I have my own office and I sit in the living room and work most of the time because I want to be
Yeah,
there for all the things that they do.
exactly. Exactly. We sit here too, and yeah, and it's that's the thing. I work from home too, and they see me working, they're
Mhm.
working on their school. I try to teach them that, your school is your job. So you do your job while mommy's doing her job.
Mhm.
And we take breaks, we have lunch together, we do all the things together. And then we can plan our day like, hey, are you gonna be done your meeting soon? Let's do this together and
Yeah.
do that, I don't know. I wouldn't trade this for anything. Of all
Yeah.
the ups and downs, yeah, there are days where you're like, oh goodness, I don't know if I can,
Right.
keep doing this. And every mom goes through this. Every homeschooling mom goes through this. But at the end of the day, when you're like, yeah, I have never doubted my decision to keep them home. It's, I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, I speak at homeschool conventions, and this last year, two different times I had my kids in like where I was speaking. And one time I was talking about how like I encourage my kids to manage the farm on their own. And I had the audience ask, like, can we ask your daughter some questions?
Oh,
And
wow.
she got up on stage with me and answered questions on how she manages her chicken flock.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
impressive.
I was so proud of her. And then at another one, her twin brother, my other 15-year-old, had the two babies. They wanted to come watch me talk. And the
Oh,
babies are like playing in the corner, and older brother's like dealing with them and stuff. And then afterwards, I had moms come up to me and say, like, I thought that was really awesome that not only did you show your kids that you can be a mom and, run a business, but you're doing it at the same time. I
yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
that's just how life works sometimes. But I love that you found inspiration in that.
Yeah. It is. It is so inspiring. So I'm glad that you do what you do. And I'm so glad that you were able to share so much with us today. Is there anything, words of wisdom that you'd like to give to our listeners about, getting that teacher help as we wrap up?
Yeah, basically make time for yourself. Because when you're frantically trying to scramble through blogs and podcasts to make sure you're doing it right while trying to still be mom and homeschool mom and all
Mhm.
that stuff, you're not going to absorb it in the same way because you're going to scan for the best piece of information that you need in that moment.
Right.
Take the time to listen to these podcasts while you're driving to town every day. I mean, for me, it's a 45-minute drive to town. I don't know what everyone else is, but
Yeah.
when you're driving to town, it's okay to listen to a podcast in the shower. Um,
Yeah. Or folding laundry.
yeah.
That's what I do.
Right. When I pull weeds in the springtime, that's my favorite thing. I go and listen to like books on tape, or I always say
Ah,
books on tape, but
nice.
it ages me so much. Audiobook. I listen to audiobooks or podcasts while I'm weeding. And then I actually read in a book recently that you don't have to relax in the same way that everybody else relaxes to actually be
Yes.
relaxing. And I'm one of those
Yeah.
people that needs productive relaxing. So
Yeah.
I go and I weed, and while I'm weeding, my garden looks beautiful when I'm done, and I've absorbed information and I had my time alone like I needed.
That's a really good point. Yeah, I've never really thought about that, people relax differently.
Mhm. I
You
am
just kind of have it in your head that, you have to sit
You're
in bed
supposed to,
and
yeah, take a bath or something. And I
yeah.
sit in the bathtub and I'm bored.
It's true.
So
I think I'm like you because I don't like sitting in the tub because then I can't do something. So
yeah.
yeah.
So when I take that time to work with my hands, it gives my brain a break, but I'm still getting to be
Mm,
productive.
I love that. I love that. So yeah, those of you who are listening and you need some time to yourself, really think about that and definitely make the time as Kody has suggested. And yeah, definitely do your research, do your homework because it's just to make you better, just to make you the best teacher, which you already are.
Hmm.
I like to think of it, the public school system has these professional development days over here in Canada anyway.
Yep.
Um, and so, the teachers kind of go off. They've already got their certification, right? They're already teachers, but you do this consistently throughout the year. You find new ways of doing things. You look for fresh ideas and just things that would encourage you as a homeschooling mom.
It
You
builds
kind of keep
confidence.
doing that.
It
Yeah,
builds confidence and validation. I think validation is a really big one as a homeschool mom.
exactly. Exactly. And it's so important, especially for those of us who are like I called myself the black sheep, of the family and you're
Yeah.
kind of on your own. But hey, over here at the Hey Mama Homeschool Show, you are never alone. There are mamas like Kody and myself out there willing to chat with you and encourage you on your journey. So, you are not alone on this, and keep doing the research and keep loving on your kids and teaching them the way that they should go. And I just want to say thank you, Kody, for joining me today. You've shared so much wonderful wisdom. I'm so glad you were able to join us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And just to let you know, the winter issue of the Old Schoolhouse magazine is here. Look inside this edition for homeschool fun and games, how to teach logic and strategy, and writing tips. Take a break from the hustle and bustle of the busy season and snuggle up, hot chocolate in hand, and read this brand new edition from cover to cover to inspire you as you head into the new year. And guess what? It's better on the app. Don't forget to download the app at homeschoolapp.com. And before we sign off, I'm going to let you know what's coming up next on the Hey Mama Homeschool Show. We've got STEM, STEAM, and science fairs. Why bother? Next is Teen Rebels and Grown Prodigals, Pain and Prayer. Then, what to do with the active wiggly ones. So don't forget to subscribe on whatever platform you're listening to so you don't miss a new episode. We'll talk to you again soon. Bye for now.